Ziffelmeyer says, you seem to have a knack for public speaking. Did you learn this on the job? I'm not sure that I necessarily have a knack for public speaking, but thank you. I'm not sure that YouTube even counts as public speaking. Sure, it's in the public, but because it's on a delay, it's much easier. You don't have to worry about it. Like if I say something ridiculously stupid right now, I know that I can edit it out. But if I were doing real public speaking in front of thousands of people, then it would be much more pressure. So I don't know. And on the job, I do a lot of training. So yeah, I think if anything, this has helped the training. Like I've been more animated and just known how to try to capture people's attention and that sort of thing. And I do try to work on that kind of thing. So Machanuffers says, what would win in a fight, a crocoduck or a reptilian shapeshifter? Well, I would say a reptilian shapeshifter, because a crocoduck doesn't have any special abilities. In fact, if anything, I mean, well, of course, the mixture of a crocodile and a duck is probably not going to be particularly vicious, especially since I think it would be hard for the duck body to lift the crocodile head off the ground and go running across the ground. I think the crocodile head would kind of drag through the mud, you know. I just don't think it would work. So I'd say the reptilian shapeshifter. World's Jungle Gym says, should I go to college? I graduated high school 1.5 years ago, but I still don't know what to do with my life. Should I just do it and go? In general, I usually counsel people to go to college if there is a choice. And I know there's some other people, by the way, that are on YouTube, in this little part of YouTube, that are all like, oh yeah, screw college, you can do fine, blah blah blah, whatever, without education. Yeah, I don't think that's a good strategy. There are people that can do great without having the education, yes, but statistics are not in your favor if you don't go to college. So all else being equal, you're better off. Of course, there are individuals that don't need it or wouldn't be good for, but at least have some idea of what you're going for. If you're in college to try to figure out what you want to do, then great, do that. Or if you have something specific in mind, which obviously you don't, you said you don't, but if you think that there's something, if whatever you come up with is probably going to mean that you'll have to go to college, then go. At least get a 2-year degree, and then if you need more, once you figure out what you want to do, then get more. But education is something that can't be taken away from you. So if you can get it, I would get it. All right, Mel B90 says, seeing religious fundamentalism, war on poverty, etc. on a daily basis can be pretty disheartening and can make it seem like we're doomed. Which developments do you think are needed to guarantee our continued survival? I don't know that our survival is that doomed. I tend to be kind of an optimist anyway, but I'm not sure. It depends on what country you're talking about. There's certain regions of the world that I think are going to be fine, or more than fine, and there are other regions that are going to be less fine. And I think in this country, in the United States, I'm not particularly worried about our continued survival in the long term. I mean, yeah, there's always going to be some idiots out there, and we're always fighting against the forces of stupidity, like Dogbert and Dilbert, where he takes that stick and goes, out, out, demons of stupidity, or something like that. So yeah, maybe that'll be us for a while, but I'm not that disheartened, and I'm not sure which developments are needed for continued survival, except for perhaps energy independence. And I think that things like electric cars, which are in their infancy, of course, in terms of the technology, but those kind of things, they will help a lot. Short Drummer 99, if given the opportunity, would you quit your job, whatever that may be, LOL, to do YouTube full time? It would be fun to be able to do YouTube full time, but I think it would be difficult for me to make that kind of living doing YouTube. I think it would be, for one thing, I would need tens of thousands, I'd need really, I think, hundreds of thousands of more subscribers than the Crocoduck Army is right now. Probably not going to happen. It's fine. It's fine as a little side thing. Garrett Darkley says, who's your favorite James Bond and why? I'll say Daniel Craig because I'm not really that much of a James Bond guy. I have not seen most of the old ones, most of the old classic ones. I've seen I've seen a couple, I think, of the newer ones, and I like them just as standalone stories. I'm not really into the whole 007 lore and everything like that. I just think that they're generally pretty well made movies, at least the more recent ones. So, SMS Meek, 1995. What community of atheists would you consider the nicest to theists? Well, for one thing, I'm not sure what communities of atheists there are. You'd have to break down for me what kinds of categories you see them in before I would be able to tell you what they would be. In terms of nice to theists, when you say nice to theists, I mean, there's a lot of theists that I'm not nice to at all because they're giant jackasses. But there are other theists, I think, who are very nice and interesting and that sort of thing. So I don't think you can combine anymore. Like, if I can't separate the types of atheists that you're talking about, then I don't know which one to talk about. And if all the theists are lumped together, I don't know how you'd go about figuring that out. So, HBK 1995. Do you think the problem of suffering is a good argument against the existence of God? Now, I think it's an interesting argument. Is it a good argument? I don't know. Because technically, and I think I agree that it's an idiotic excuse, but religious people can always throw out the thing of, well, God just works in mysterious ways. I mean, yeah, it's stupid, but it technically is true. Like, if you're just some capricious God out there that wants to do whatever you want, then sure, you could do that. It doesn't make any sense that you could do that, but you could envision a world in which that could be the case. I'm never particularly impressed with most of the philosophical proofs or disproofs of God, and that's a lot of why I think I identify myself as an agnostic atheist. And it's not that I don't think that there could possibly be a way to be a positive atheist and to say, like, oh, okay, I know for sure there's no God because I have this awesome philosophical proof. It's just not that interesting to me. So that's what I think of that. Ace of Diamonds 0 says, what would you do if you were president? Well, let the good times roll. No, I don't know. If I were president, there's a lot of things that I can think of that would be helpful, like stopping the war on pot and all this sort of thing. Sure, that's one thing that I know a lot of you are near and dear to your hearts. But then things like wars, yeah, it would be nice to get out of all those wars finally. And I know we are eventually, Obama's getting us out of Afghanistan, but it's taking a hell of a long time and much longer than I would prefer. So those are a couple things. And I think the taxation issues and a lot of the other things I've done videos on the past year, I think you can go back to those and figure out where I stand on a lot of things. So, Grange34 says, what is the best David Bowie album? Actually, I'm not much of a David Bowie fan. It's not that I'm not a fan, it's just not my genre. Maybe he was popular like a little bit before my time, or actually, the only music I like, the one song of his that I like is I'm Afraid of Americans, the one he did with Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails, and I thought that was good, and the video was really cool too. If you ever look for that on YouTube. So why are you called Zaunstar? Well, I'm called Zaunstar because I used to, back in college, I used to play MUDs, multi-user dimensions. That was when the internet was like all text. This was back in the mid '90s, it was actually early '90s when I first started on the internet. So when I first started college, so we had I came up with the name Zaun, which is German for fence, but then sometimes that name is taken. So I used to just add star to the end of it, and so, but not star like instead of Zaunster, I just thought it sounded better to Zaunstar or something like that, and so I just created that as a secondary handle, which I used on YouTube, but before I even thought I was ever going to really make videos regularly. So is Florida now crazier than Texas? In terms of crazy people, I think Florida's always been crazier than Texas. There are some nutty people in Florida. And when you hear these weird stories, it's funny because my whole family, well, my parents and my sister and her family all live in Florida now. And my sister's lived in Florida for quite a while. My parents just moved there about a year and a half ago. And Florida is just wild. Like, all the weird stories you hear, they always, like, news of the weird and weird arrests and stuff like that. And there's always public drunkenness or public nudity or both. And it's almost always in Florida somehow. But in terms of the virulent sort of fundamentalism that you see, I think that is more still in Texas. Those people aren't crazy; they're just wrong and just terrible people that need to be opposed. So that's my feeling on Florida and Texas. Volbet, and Volbet is Rasmus, who I met in Copenhagen in September. So, hello, Rasmus. I said he came home from Tehran, I don't know if he meant Tehran or, I don't, let's see. So, just in time to ask you a question. What is your thought on raising the taxes for the rich? Well, I do think they need to be raised for the rich. I'm not quite in that I'm actually still below that level where Obama wants to tax more, but still, I think it's a no-brainer that taxing the rich more, even though it does not fix the entire problem. I know for some reason, this is often the rebuttal when people say, oh, the rich should be taxed more. And then people are like, well, that's only going to fix, that much of the problem. And I'm like, well, that's that much of the problem that we no longer have to fix. So I would say do it. Zero Atheist, what is your profession? Okay, I already answered that. Confiscator, how would someone in his or her 30s or 40s start over and work toward financial freedom? So financial stuff, that's something that I've been interested in a long time, but I know that's not why most of you watch my videos, so I don't talk about it all that often, but I like to throw it in there every now and then, because it is something that I do have some passion about, that I'd really like people to get at least some part of their focus onto that, so that they can live better, and I think there's value in it. But in terms of starting over, I think the best way to do that is start with a plan. Figure out what it is, how is it that you want to live, figure out your retirement, how much do you need for retirement, and if you need to, get a fee-only financial planner of some type. You can look them up on Google or whatever, and those are people that can actually help you quite a lot with, they can without selling you junk and without getting a commission or anything like that, they can give you real advice for a fee. So that's a possibility, at least. And okay, Varmint Coyote says, if you had to choose a language other than English to speak the rest of your life, which would it be? And I don't mean for practical reasons, but which would you prefer speaking? Oh, let's see, a language. Well, I mean, and I guess I would say German, only because I know German somewhat reasonably well. So that's, but it wouldn't be that practical because there's only really three countries. There are only three countries in the world really that speak German as a main language. You got Germany, you got Austria, and then most, maybe half of Switzerland. So yeah, that's why. So when shootings like, also you asked, Varmint Coyote asked, when shootings like this most recent one happened, which debate do you think is more meaningful to have? Debate over the root cause or debate over the guns? I think you should have both. When you talk about root causes, that's kind of, it's one of those onions. You peel back the layers and what is the root cause? It's kind of like the video I did a few weeks ago about the Middle East situations. How do you ever even get to the root cause? You keep peeling back the onion and finally there's nothing left. So guns are part of the equation, and mental health is part of the equation, and there are a lot of other things that are part of the equation. So I think debating it all has merit. Cheesy Stranger says, if a woman or a group of women had raped a man and somehow got one of them pregnant, should the assailant waiver her rights of body autonomy and be forced to either keep or abort her fetus according to the will of her victim? Now this is one of the two questions that got the most thumbs up, so I know that people really want to hear the answer to this one. The answer to this may be somewhat disappointing, but to me it's relatively obvious that I still don't think that you can force the woman to have an abortion based on what the man wants, because it's still in her body whether she wanted to make that happen or not. I'm not sure if that matters here. And of course, custody of the child, that is going to be something that I think would be the better question. Would be what happens to the child maybe after she gets out of prison. Maybe there's something that says, well, she has de facto given up her parental rights because she had the child in this way. Like, say that if she decided to keep the child, served out her prison sentence, got out, is she allowed to therefore keep the kid? I don't know. I think that would be the better question. Cyborg Atheist says, what was your favorite film, TV series of 2012? You know, I didn't watch a lot. I don't watch a ton of movies in the theater. I did just watch The Hobbit, which was pretty good. I'm not sure that it was my favorite favorite movie of the year, but it might be. It was up there. It was very, very good. It was quite long, and I normally am fine with long movies, and yeah, it was a little methodical, and that didn't bother me either. But I did think there was a bit of excessive comic relief that maybe was not necessary. Not to like the Jar Jar Binks level or anything like that, but there are just some things that are like, yeah, really, not necessary. But just to keep the mood and the intensity of the story. But that's just me. So, all right, Ayanle Muhammad. If you are an atheist, what is the point celebrating Christmas? Well, I actually did a video about that at the very beginning of this year, like January 2nd of this year, and I was responding to Jesus Freak 777 or something like that. And yeah, so I responded to Jesus Freak, and I put that video up. You can refer to that. That's why. And Ayanle Muhammad says, do you think as an atheist objective morality applies only for those who practice religion? Well, it doesn't really apply. They think it applies. They'll use something that doesn't exist, a god, and then say, well, that god wants me to do X, Y, Z. So, but that still ends up being subjective, because it's subjective to what that person thinks. Think of how many different Christians think different things about all different types of issues. They think it's objective. They think their God is saying it, but clearly they all worship the same God, yet they come to different conclusions. So to me, it's just a different form of subjective. Bob Kears, Marvel or DC? I'm not much of a comic book guy. I love the movies. The Avengers I thought was awesome. And yeah, actually, The Avengers was an awesome movie. Back to the movie question. I think that was this year, wasn't it? Or was that last year? I don't know. I lost track. But, All Heil Kittler says, how does an 18-year-old with no experience get a job? I've applied to many places and also made a resume, but it doesn't seem to be enough. Well, you are going to have to sort of pound the pavement a little bit, meaning like you kind of get out there and actually talk to maybe the owners of some businesses, maybe even do some volunteer work to some extent. You have to kind of when you're 18, you have no work history. It's partly a matter of getting references, getting people to say that, hey, you're reliable, you'll show up on time, you will work hard, that kind of thing. Because when you're 18, those are the kind of jobs that you're going to get. I worked for McDonald's when I was 18. I worked there from when I was 16, and even all the way through undergrad during breaks and stuff like that.